Hi everyone, I'm here with Alex Green. He's the co-founder and managing director of Radfield Home Care. Hi Alex, how are you today?
Doug, yeah, very good, thank you.
Excellent. Well, thanks for coming on. Uh, just to start off with, I wanted you to tell me a bit about Radfield Home Care. You know, who are they? What do you do, etc.
So Radfield Home Care is a quality healthcare franchise brand. We provide care into people's homes. We provide a range of services from visiting care, where carer goes in for half an hour a day, through to living care, where a carer will live with with the client full time. And there's sort of daycare centres that we offer as well for respite care in the community. And we have a technology solution as well that we can offer people who maybe don't quite need care yet, but they want to stay safer in their homes. So we offer quite a range of services, all aimed at keeping people living at home in the best way they can. And we're all about quality. We always have been from when the brand was founded in 1982. And it's all about sort of making sure that people are empowered to live their best life for as long as they possibly can. So our sort of ethos on that is really that early intervention with care can really help people live better for longer, but people resist having care early. So they wait until some crisis has happened where they've had a fall, they've gone into hospital, and then the care starts. But that's almost leaving things a bit too late. If people bring care in a bit sooner, you can actually enhance people's quality of life in a much greater way, much more meaningful way. You can relieve pressure with families, you can improve relationships. And I suppose all of that comes down to where we came from as a brand. So that was our parents founding the business in 1982 in a care home where my sister, co-founder, and I grew up. So we kind of lived and breathed it. So we saw what quality care meant for people. And where that's kind of ended up today is the franchise brand, and our core identity really revolves around something we call Be There, because we recognise that where the magic happens for us is when we have a care professional spending time with a client. That's the purpose. That's everything we do. Everything, all the franchise rules, everything we do as a brand is all geared up to make that intervention magic and make something really dramatic happen for that client, improve their lives. So our Be There movement is all really about putting the focus on that interaction. And it comes down to sort of how you understand clients and what they need from care, because care can become very kind of process driven. You turn up, you do a series of tasks, you leave. That's kind of where care tends to sit. And we've tried to elevate that by understanding the individuals that are receiving care. So we start with identity. So we understand that when people have the ravages of age and illness can strip away a lot of your identity. So it makes you feel less of a person. And care can start to rebuild that. So you can start to put people's identity back where it needs to be. And then that evolves. Once we've established a little bit better sort of lifestyle for that person, we move into their relationships. So what things did they used to do that they don't do anymore? What people did they meet before? What the relationships like with their family members? How can we help to kind of improve that? Can we facilitate anything? And then finally, we move into purpose for our clients. So we look at what our clients want to achieve, because again, we believe that it doesn't matter whether you're 19 or 90, you should have goals, you should have things that you want to enjoy in your life. So we've done lots of work around that. So clients who wanted to achieve things, we've helped them do that, whether that's go on a cruise, whether that's go out for the day, whatever it is that client wants, we can help with all of that. And the aim of Radfield is to kind of wrap around the individual and make anything they need to live their best lives for as long as possible in the comfort of their own homes is what we aim to do.
Okay, thanks. So let's. I just want to pick up with something you said there. So you kind of grew up around a care sector business model as part of the family. Tell me about that. Was that a care home? Like so that was a care home at that point in time, and was that something your parents ran and built themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. So 1982, our mum was a nurse at the time, and she decided that she wanted to do something to improve her opportunities in life. So with my dad, she founded Radfield Care Home. It's
Yeah.
confusing, home care, and that was a small private family-run business where my sister, Hannah was 7 at the time, I was 10. So there were two crazy kids running around. There were cats, there were dogs, there were all of the sort of the constellation of care professionals working with my mum, and then our residents. And at the time, all of the residents in the home were Victorians. So you're talking about a real sort of generation gap there. So all of those guys were, they were lovely, and they were like an extended family of grandparents to us as kids, and we tried to create a family environment for them. So from the very sort of first day, that was the ethos. My mum was very focused on, if you treat your staff really well, they will look after your clients really well. Because we were in that family environment, it just became natural to us. We grew up in that sort of entrepreneurial quality care environment, and it just got into our bones, really.
Yeah, so as kids and as you grew up, you were kind of seeing this and living this effectively. And when did you guys, you and Hannah, become when did you first, if you like, help directly in the business? I'm sure as kids you provide a great amount of joy to the residents, but when did you actually more actively become involved in the business?
Probably two stages to that. One was Hannah started working as a care professional in her very early teens. So she would do shifts. She'd work alongside the care professionals in the home. So she actually started working in the home in that way, and I was more kind of maintenance guy. So I was up ladders, painting things, doing all that stuff. So I learned quite a lot of DIY skills, probably from when I was about 16. And then more formally, we became more involved in the business when our parents decided to retire. So around sort of 2006, 7, they started having conversations around, we want to stop. What do we do? Do you want to carry on? Do you want to, that kind of legacy planning, continuity planning conversation happened. And we initially decided that we would carry on. Hannah had been inspired by her experiences to go off and become a GP. So she was working as a doctor. And I was working in financial services and in the charity sector. And we thought, okay, well, time is right. We both wanted to come back together and help sort of take on the family business. But it was around 2008 when we sort of formalized that. And the credit crunch happened. So we were on the verge of, we got all the loans secured to build a massive care home and carry on with Radfield as a care home. Credit crunch made us rethink everything. And we went, okay, this isn't the right direction of travel for us. We're going to start home care. And we recognized there was a sort of shift in the market where there was more demand for people to have care in their own homes. So 2008, we launched Radfield Home Care in Shrewsbury, where the care home was based. And that was when we really sort of took over. So over the course of a couple of years, the care home wound down as, they sort of, as clients moved on, we didn't replace them. And then eventually we sort of wound that business up, and Radfield Home Care started growing from there.
So that's really interesting. I mean, you're answering a lot of questions before I even asked them, Alex. So that's really handy, actually. You're able to do that. But so yeah, from care home to home care, you understood the operations of a care home because that's all you'd known in terms of that business model. How difficult was it, and how much did you learn, and how much did you have to go and understand and learn about in-home care? Or care at home, however you want to term it, because that's a big shift.
Yeah, I mean, it's care essentially is care. You're looking after people, but there's a big logistics piece that comes in with home care that isn't there so much with the care home. So care home, you've got a controlled environment. People are there, they turn up, they work, they live there. Home care, you're providing care across a huge geography in people's homes. Much harder to control the environment. Risk assessment becomes much more important, health and safety, keeping your staff safe, lone working, and then just the rota planning, the logistics planning of getting carers out to clients on time, making sure that's all efficient. So yeah, I'm a big learning curve. I mean, for me, it was a massive learning curve because I hadn't really worked in care, such I was coming from, more of a financial background, a directorial background into care. So I signed up and did my registered manager's qualification. That was kind of a first point for me, was I've got to learn this business, so I'll sign up and do the course. So did that. Hannah had her medical background, so it was maybe a little bit of an easier transition for her, but she also did the course because she wanted to learn the specifics of what's it like to run a care business, how to be a care manager. And that's kind of how we took it, really, was learning from day one. We recognized there was a need for us to learn a different way of doing business. So we took on the advice and did the training.
And from there, so you obviously you changed the model and you created Radfield Home Care. When did franchising kind of enter your thought process about using that as a potential growth model?
Yeah, quite early on. And then we decided not to do it. And I think it was probably from a lack of real understanding of what franchising was. And I think that's probably quite a common thing. So we decided to go on the path of sort of company owned growth. So we started by opening our own offices around us, so within an hour of travel. So we opened an office in Worcester, we opened an office in Stafford, an office in Chester. So that was all manageable for us in terms of getting there and being there. And we grew those quite successfully. We had a sort of network of company owned offices. And then we sort of hit a bit of a brick wall with it, where we were struggling to kind of manage the quality. And as I said at the beginning, quality is really at the heart of everything we do, and we won't do this business if we can't do it well. So quality, when you're employing people at a distance remotely, it's quite hard to keep managing that quality. And I think we did manage to keep the quality high, but we recognized the challenge. So that's when we started looking at franchising as a serious alternative to expanding and growing the company. We had ambitions to grow, and we'd also seen the trajectory of some of the other brands like Home Instead. Trevor was doing great things at the time and building a very strong brand there. And we thought, okay, well, there might be something more to this franchise we need to look at. And then I think the more we looked into it, the more we understood some of the benefits of having, owners of our businesses, co-owners effectively in the brand, where they're invested, they're committed in a slightly different way to an employee. And then quality becomes much more of an issue for them as much as it is for us. It's a slightly different relationship. And once that light bulb moment happened, the penny dropped, and we went, okay, well, we're all in now. Franchising is the way forward.
Okay. And so your mom and that whole, was franchising ever mentioned during that period of the
Not really.
original business? No.
Yeah, that's why there's no care home franchises out there. Actually, I saw one the other day. I'm not sure quite how they're planning to do it, but the investment in a care home is in the millions. It's a
Yeah.
massive investment, so it's not really that franchisable as a model. Whereas home care, you benefit from having much lower startup costs. Essentially, you need an office, you need a team, off you go. It's much more franchisable as a model.
Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense. And so what year was it? Like, how long ago was it when you actually took those first steps to saying, you know what, franchising is in our future now, and we're going to take those first steps to kind of go down that road?
In 2016, we were doing the development work, and
Yeah.
2017 we launched.
Then you launched. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And how have things gone? Because obviously, it's been a difficult period, like the last 5 years, for various reasons, starting, with Brexit and everything else, and then it seems to have been one thing off. Well, we know it's been one when you work in recruitment or trying to find franchisees for lots and lots of brands. You just see these things and they just compound each other, and it's Brexit and wars and obviously COVID, and then more wars, and Europe, and cost of living, and it's been a really tricky 5 years, for almost everyone. How have you found it, and kind of how are you dealing with that, because it has been a pretty bad period of growth for a lot of franchisors?
Yeah, we've not had a lot of luck in our business journey in terms of macro events that happen around us. I mean, we started in 2008 in the credit crunch.
Yeah.
In care, you have a certain amount of recession resilience. So people need care, whatever. And also recruitment can be one of the biggest challenges in the care sector. So in those kind of economic environments, then recruitment maybe becomes a bit easier, and people still need care. So there is an element of that, where you can trade through recessions in care. It doesn't affect other businesses quite the same way. In terms of Brexit, I think it knocked a lot of confidence out of people. People just paused for thought a great deal, and that's not so much in care, but certainly in the franchising side of things. And then we had COVID. COVID was an interesting time for us because we didn't stop working. So there was no stopping for us. There was no lockdown. There was no furlough in that sense. We were all busy working from home, providing care. An interesting thing we had, we wrote to all of our clients across the whole network at the beginning of COVID, and we said, look, we understand if you don't want to receive care anymore, because this is people coming into your homes, and we'll do our best to keep you safe, but please let us know. and we didn't have one client say stop coming. You know, they all wanted to continue receiving the care. So we worked really hard through COVID, but I think that had a huge impact on franchise sales, recruitment, and then, you know, into all the other, you know, stuff that's happened in the world. It's not been an easy ride for us, and we've definitely felt the effects of it. But I think we have consistently managed to recruit the right people. We've kept our focus on, you know, keeping quality in the brand, keeping quality in the businesses that operate under the brand, and, you know, refining our offering to our franchise partners and building on that. And I think that's kind of where we've ended up with a multiple service offering now. And that's a recognition that in the market, you know, there needs to be a breadth of care provision. And we've been working hard to develop all those services. But yeah, I mean, it's not been an easy time for anybody. I think, you know, on the care side, we've had it easier than some. You know, if you were a gym franchise, it was really tough. You were shut, and that was it. There was no opening. So we carried on trading through that, but it was different challenges for us, navigating all of the government flip-flopping, making their mind up one day, changing it the next day, giving wrong advice. I mean, it was crazy.
So with all of that and kind of the history and so on, and where we're up to now, what would you say have been like the biggest hurdles in a franchise sense, either personally or as a business, that you've had to overcome, either obvious or not obvious?
I think, you know, from day one, we decided our approach to growing the business was to take advice. You know, we're not people who think we know it all. We always take advice. We will go on training courses. We will seek consultancy. We will do all that. So, you know, when we started the care business, we trained as care managers. That was our first port of call. And then when we moved into franchising, we were working with Ashtons as they are now, and the precursor to Ashtons. So we brought in advisors, much like yourself, Doug, you know, to help us understand franchising and build our business at that point.
Yeah.
And then from then on, we've brought in different consultants at different stages. So as we've grown as a business, we've recognised there's some needs. So we'll bring in people who've been there before and work with them to help us understand some of those pitfalls that are going to come up for us. So I think we've probably avoided some of those challenges that other brands, you know, may have to, because, you know, not everyone succeeds on their franchising journey. They have a fantastic business, but franchising is a completely separate business. So you have to learn a new business alongside your current business. And that's, I think, you know, that's the real challenge in franchising. Is I don't think people understand that. They think, oh, I'm doing this business really well, I can franchise it, it'll make me loads of money and I'll retire, happy days. And it's not that at all. I mean, it is a completely different business to the business that you're franchising. So you have to be expert in both. So I think, you know, we've avoided a lot of those challenges. You know, I've seen brands that launched before us kind of do that trajectory of, you know, massive growth and then implosion and fail. Luckily, and, you know, hopefully through some of our work, we've managed to avoid that challenge. But the biggest challenge is really learning franchising as a business and how to do that. And we're still learning. You know, as you grow as a network, you know, there's the first challenge of getting it off the ground and finding your first franchisees. Then there's the second challenge when you hit around 15 and all those kind of, you know, I'm involved, I'm the director, everyone knows me and I'm doing everything stage stops, because you get stretched too thin. So then how do you kind of scale your business ahead of that to make sure you don't just hit a wall at, you know, round 15 franchisees? So we took advice, we planned, we invested, we built a team, we got through that stage. And now we're planning for our sort of next stage of growth, which is to say, you know, we're growing as a network. How do we then keep moving through those stages? Because I think a lot of brands hit a wall. So yeah, learning how to be a franchisor. It's a very different skill set. It's multifaceted. You've got to understand how to manage people, how to motivate people, how to operate a franchise agreement. You know, there's a very big legal document that sits between you and your franchise partners, and you have to know how to operate it. Because, I mean, in my experience, franchising, you know, it's all carrot, very little stick. You know, you get the best out of your network if you motivate the hell out of them and get them to follow you. You get very little out of them if you tell them what to do all the time and beat them up all the time. So the stick's always a last resort, but you have to know those bits of your business to protect your brand. So understanding all that is, you know, it's a lot of plates you've got to keep spinning at the same time as running the business you started with, the care business. It doesn't stop.
And you've taken a you call your franchisees franchise partners. Tell me about that. What's the reason for that? Because it's not, it's unusual in one hand to see that, but you obviously have a reason for that.
I think it's a recognition of the partnership, because franchising is a partnership. Maybe not all franchisors see it in that way, but I think you get the best out of people if you make them feel that they're a partner in what you're doing. They're a partner in your brand. They're a partner in building your business. And it's about that sort of mutual success, mutual failure. A franchisor can only succeed if the franchisees are successful. You can reach a certain point by just selling franchises, but then you'll implode, because if your franchisees aren't successful, if they're not engaged in the brand, they'll turn around at some point and say, I'm not doing this anymore. Or in the worst case scenario, they'll turn around and say, my lawyer wants to speak to your lawyer because you missold this franchise opportunity to me. So, it's that balancing act of making sure that you keep your franchisees engaged, you keep them successful. And it's all about recruitment. You've got to recruit the right people. And there's a real temptation to not recruit the right people because you want to grow as a brand. But if you do that, you're just storing up problems for down the line.
Yeah, I was absolutely, Alex. No, I'm glad you mentioned that. It's what I call sustainable franchising, because it's a term I like to use because that's what it is, and that's what franchising needs to be for everyone. It needs to be sustainable and it needs to be ongoing. And if you bring on the wrong franchisees or franchise partners in your case, it's not sustainable. You're going to run into problems. Their business doesn't become sustainable. If their business isn't sustainable, then ultimately that's going to affect the overall franchise business, and it goes on. And so, it's ironic a little bit that, I've been in franchise recruitment for 20 years. So I'm with all the clients I've ever worked with, you have to set goals based on and targets based on numbers of franchisees. But it's not really about the numbers. It's about the quality of each and every franchisee that comes on board. And I'm continually having to manage expectations around those numbers. It's saying, look, yes, you need numbers to set goals and objectives, build budgets, and have processes. But it's far better that if your number's 10 franchisees in a year and you get 5 really good ones, take the 5 really good ones every single time, and don't worry too much that you missed your 10 target, because those 5 franchisees will deliver you more as a franchisor than those 10 would have over 5 years, and give you less problems and be more interactive with the business and contribute more. And so that's the kind of the irony, really, because the way that I work is helping brands grow, and growth is often seen as a numbers game, but they look at the wrong numbers, and they need to look at, well, what's the contribution that each franchisee makes to network turnover, and then obviously profitability is the most important thing. Franchisees have to be profitable. It's the only way they're going to stick around. If they're profitable, the franchisor is profitable. So it's what I say to every franchisor listening, actually, is growth may have been slow for you in the last 5 years, or maybe longer, or the last few years at least. Don't worry too much about that. As long as the people that you're bringing on board are the right people, as long as they are doing well in their businesses and you're supporting them, that has to be priority number one. After that, it's just about, okay, how can we find more of the right people more quickly, but maintain the support levels that we have in place already? And that becomes a challenge in itself. So it's it's really good to hear, Alex, that you sound on top of all of that. And I'm sure there's been a learning experience to get there, but it's and you never stop learning in franchising. I think that's the key thing, isn't it? So
you really don't. I mean, it's about mindset. So franchise partners, business partners, partners in your brand, and franchise recruitment. You're recruiting and finding partners. You're not selling franchises. As soon as you start selling franchises, then you get the wrong people in your network, and that's, as I say, problems down the line. So it's that mindset for the franchise partners as much as for us. So we know what we're looking for. We're looking for partners, and they understand that they are important partners in our success. So that's the reason for the name. But yeah, I mean, it's the only way to go.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. We internally at the franchising center, we call it franchise recruitment or franchisee recruitment, but it's actually matchmaking, and our whole, the whole ethos around it is actually creating a match, because that's the partnership bit that you talk about. It's matching the right people. In this case, it's, yes, businesses and people, but businesses are made up of people. So and that becomes, that becomes the key. So you're absolutely right. There's still a sales process behind all of that, but selling a franchise is a term I don't like at all. And I would never use that ever. So yeah, I know, I absolutely agree with you. And Alex, if you could give one bit of advice to a company or business owner, small business owner, who has been where you've been, has a successful independent business, maybe try to grow it corporately, or maybe hasn't, in one way or another, and thinks, okay, they come across franchising as a potential model for growth. What kind of one tip would you give that person who might be listening right now, as to how to go about that?
You have two really
Two,
important
good.
ones.
Two's good. I'll take two.
The first one is, do you have the bandwidth to do this? Or are you 100% committed to your current business? If you take your focus off your business that's paying your bills at the moment, will that business suffer? So don't go into franchising until you've built a team who can run that and operate that core business really well, not without you, but with, leaving you enough time to focus on franchising. Because franchising, you are setting up a new business. That is a completely different business that will require 100% of your time, pretty much, to do it well. So that's advice number one. Don't do it unless you're ready, in terms of having some money to do it, because it's not, it's not for free setting up a franchise to do it well, and have the time to be able to devote to it. That's number one, first thing. Second thing, take advice. Go and find an organization that has a long track record, experience in helping brands franchise themselves, and listen to what they say and work with them to do it, because it will save you so much pain down the line. And that's it, really. I think, then you're working with experts who can take you on that journey. And the great thing about franchising is there's a real family feel in franchising, that other brands are usually really happy to help you. So, when you go and talk to brands about the pain points you have, they'll tell you how to get through them. So actually, there's a really sort of almost non-competitive nature to franchising that we love. And I think, again, you don't know that until you're in it. But all those problems around franchising are shared problems. We all have the same problems, because we're all running networks of franchise partners, franchisees. So actually, there's a huge amount of learning you get from the sector in general. But yeah, the advice you get at the beginning to get you into that space, absolutely vital to get the right advice.
Great, Alex. Thanks so much. Well, listen, I'm going to let you go, and really appreciate your time today. And hopefully we'll bump into you at some point in the near future.
Definitely. Thanks very much, Doug.